It's Rob Cressy, founder of Bacon Sports, and I've got a special episode of the podcast for you talking about the lessons learned from Andy Frisella's Live Hard program, a year-long mental toughness program. And joining me to jam about it, he's the founder of Euphoria. He's also a seven-figure brand manager for e-commerce sellers. He's also a friend of mine, and he was with me every step of the way on my Live Hard journey. Say hello to Brendan Pettit. Brendan, super excited to have you on the show, my friend.
Yeah, man. As always, excited to jam. What is this, our fourth edition of the Live Hard? Fifth edition of the Live Hard. Yeah, this is, it's exciting to be back and excited to jam with you, man. Let's do it.
So this is the fifth of our 5-part podcast series about the Live Hard mental toughness program. If you haven't listened to the episodes about 75 Hard, Phase 1, Phase 2, and Phase 3, you can check them out in the previous catalog for the Sports Marketing Huddle. But what we're going to do on this episode is we're going to tie a bow on the Live Hard program. And we've already shared tips for accomplishing it. Now we want to share the lessons learned from the entire program now that we've completed the entire thing. And I'll reiterate this again. This was a 1-year-long journey. And I don't think many of us have done things that have taken one entire year with such focus like this. And that sort of adds to why this is such a big thing here. And Brendan, we're going to have a variety of narratives that we're going to be talking about of the things that we've learned. And the number one thing that stands out to me, which goes to why I even did it in the first place, was becoming the best version of myself. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. I think we were probably both in a similar position where we never could find that particular traction or consistency in certain areas, whether it be exercise or day-to-day planning or just anything like that. I know I struggled with calendar management and just mapping out my day, and I was losing weight in the process of losing weight, but I could never find consistent flow to that. I would always plateau at a certain level and then hit a wall, and then I would find myself getting back into bad habits and not continuing on that. So I really was at this point where I needed something to really jolt me out of that, and this program sort of created the framework to do that. It really just pulled me out of my own element and allowed me some structure around how to do that, essentially.
I agree 100%. And I think back to the story that I've told in terms of why I even did this in the first place. And the reason I did it is because I didn't want to do it. And I was like, wait a second, how can I be all in on my dreams in my life, yet this thing that guarantees that I will be the best version of myself, I'm like, nah, I'm good. I'm like, wait a second, that makes no sense to me because the best version of me includes this thing. And I can say that this delivered on every single thing that it promised and far exceeded expectations. Because if we look at the maturation from 75 Hard to Phase 1 to Phase 2 to Phase 3 to where we are right now, and I was actually going back through some of my notes that I took throughout this different stuff, and I think about during 75 Hard, even on day 11, and I remembered this day because it was the hardest day that I had in the first 11 days because there was the talk that, oh, within the first 2 weeks, you're going to hit this wall. And like for the first week or so, you're all doing good. You're like, man, I got this. This is a piece of cake. And then you work out twice a day for 11 straight days and you just start stacking stacks on stacks. And you're like, whoa, I am just beat down. And then you look and you're like, holy crap, I have 75 days to do of this. And 75 Hard was about proving to yourself that you can complete this. And I feel like I am such a different person from the person who was doing 75 Hard and completed 75 Hard to Phase 1, being sharpening my sword, being like, all right, was the first thing we just did, was that sort of a fluke? Like, am I really this good? And then Phase 2, you're like, all right, we got these first two done. Let's build this momentum. And then Phase 3, it's like, we are finishing strong, and it no doubt turned me and you into the best Terminator in the world.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, the 75 hard, you definitely hit that wall because, like most things, especially being guys, probably a little ego in there, probably like, yeah, I know how to work out, I know how to do all these things. You get a little overzealous and you almost go a little too hard. Like I remember doing like harder leg days and doing all these things. Like I was motivated to just get into it. And you realize like there is recovery. Like you are working out twice a day. Like you can't just continue on that pace for 75 days. There has to be some ebbs and flows that come with that. And there has to be some sort of spreading it out, so to speak, that happens. So yeah, I can definitely relate to that. As far as like jumping from phase to phase, there was definitely transitional pieces. And I think the most learning for me came in those transitional pieces, especially from 75 hard to phase one, where like I found myself on this super high. Like I knew that this was probably the best I'd ever felt. And I was on the greatest stride I'd probably ever had in the 75-day period. And then I found myself, and Andy talks about it too, I found myself sort of like you hit this sort of plateau where like you kind of fall into a couple bad habits, or you let some things creep in, or, you know, and things like that. And you find yourself backsliding a little bit. And then that really motivates you to get into phase one. And then, so you get back into that and you really recharge. And what it taught me is like each phase, in between each phase from then on, I found myself improving in those areas as well, and making sure that I wasn't letting certain things slide. And I created a better awareness for catching myself. And so you learn, it's not just in the phases that you learn stuff. It's like the in between, like the catching yourself, the disciplines after you go through the challenges and stuff like that too, that really molded me the most, I think, during the process.
Totally agree, because one thing that Andy talks about is this is a tool belt that we now have, a tool in our tool belt. So at any point, we know what we can do to become the best version of ourselves. And it doesn't mean that we need to redo the entire Live Hard program or 75 Hard, because we can take the things that worked for us to say, all right, for the next week, the next month, for this day, or for this moment, I am going to do X, because I know that when I do X, I immediately snap into focus and become that best version of myself. And that's, I think, one of the best things that we learned from this is we now know how to become the best version of ourselves. And quite frankly, we grew into that. One thing that was a huge victory for me in my mindset was earned confidence. I am such a confident person right now for going through all of this, because we earned it every single day and really every single moment, because this is called Live Hard. And this was hard as crap. One of the hardest things I've ever done in my life, but it was also one of the best things I've ever done in my life. And it's designed to be hard. It's designed to be uncomfortable. It's designed to push you out of your comfort zone, because so often the comfort zone, nothing great ever came from your comfort zone. So this structure that was put around us to say, listen, you have so much more in you. And that's another one of the huge takeaways here is we think that, oh my God, I worked out 4 days this week. That's a good number. I can't do anymore. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, you don't think you can do anymore? How about you work out twice a day for 75 straight days? And you're like, what? And all of a sudden it just shifts your mindset. And then you realize, wait a second, this isn't just a physical thing. With the power list, with us doing 8 items a day and getting those things accomplished, I was without a doubt the most productive I've ever been in my entire life during the Live Hard program. How about you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we could talk about the results that have come out of it later on, I guess, but it sort of speaks for itself. The momentum that we built coming out of this program over this last year sort of speaks for itself. Both of us are busier than we've ever been. We've got more on our plate, not just busy, but more productive. We're closing deals. We're getting into new businesses. We're delegating. We've learned a lot about ourselves and our capacity to do things. We structured our days better. Like the program itself, because of the lists and because you have to build your calendar out and plan your days. You learn how to structure everything for growth and for productivity. There's no way that you can get around it by the end of it. So again, I think the list building, I agree with you. I was totally 100% looking for something that helped me build more structure around being more productive and owning my time better. This helped me do that. And yeah, I've seen the fruits of it coming out of this last year for sure.
And you know that with owning your time better, because this becomes about accountability and focus and discipline and
Mhm.
prioritization. Because the best way that I could describe what it's like to be on Live Hard is the second you wake up, you're immediately back on Live Hard, because you have these things that you get to accomplish and it is your number one priority. So for me, I think one thing that was a huge benefit to completing it was I decided before I even started 75 Hard that I was all in on this program, and just specifically 75 Hard, and then it carried to the other phases. Because Andy said something, he goes, if you go all in on this, I guarantee you it will change your life. And the words all in stood out to me. So being an entrepreneur who's worked from home for the last 13 years, I'm in control of all areas of my life. I can do whatever I want. So what I did was I prioritized the Live Hard program as my number one thing every day. It doesn't mean that I stopped doing business or stopped caring about my family. No, there's a complete opposite of that. I just knew the second that I got up, I'm reading, I'm drinking water, I'm going to the gym, I'm planning my day. And that gave me such a level of focus because I didn't have time to waste on things that weren't going to serve me and help me accomplish what I want. And then how do you build the momentum? Well, you rinse and repeat this 75 days in a row, and then 30 more days, and then 30 more days, and then 30 more days. And they just start stacking on top of each other. And it was such an absolute blessing because it removed distractions. It's designed for that because you don't have time for distractions when you have so much that you want to accomplish. And I think about what has changed in the world from 1 year ago when you and I finished 75 Hard to where we are right now with the pandemic and so much gone on that people are comfortable, they're slowing down. There's a lot of fear, there's a lot of inaction, there's a lot of boredom, there's a lot of lack of focus, there's a lot of distractions in this world. And you said it. We built momentum, and the results, we have never been busier in the best way possible. And I'm going to look back on this time, and specifically during phase 3, as one of, if not the greatest times of my entire life. It is going to be a game changer. I will look back on 2020 and say this is one of the best years of my entire life.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, look, and it's like zooming out of the whole process and the phases and everything else. It gives you a framework to build on, right? Like you've alluded to it a couple times. Like it gives you the benchmark. Like you raise the bar to a certain level, you hold yourself to that level, and anytime you find yourself slipping now, you have the framework. You know, you've gone through the tacticals, you've gone through all the different day-to-day stuff that you can do, you've built certain habits, you've built certain things, and even if those habits slip a little bit, again, the bar is already set up here, so you can't ever go back to just being complacent, just letting yourself not be in shape, not letting yourself pay attention to your calendar, understand, try to grow 1% every day. For me, it's built a framework that I can or at least a standard that I can at least go, okay, if this is my standard, what's the best way I can keep this standard? And I think you can agree with that. Both of us are trying now to get into other things and grow sort of that 1% a day mentality that you're able to put other types of methods into this, knowing that your bar is set high, knowing where it's set, to go, okay, how can I achieve this in the best possible way that fits my personality, that fits what I would like to see my day look like, that fits my vision of who I want to be, where I want to go, what kind of businesses I want to own, and those types of things. And it really helps you. So again, as rigid as the program may have been, what it really did is it built out the skeleton and the framework and then raised the bar to a level where I can't ever really drop it below that and feel comfortable.
One thing Jocko says, discipline equals freedom. So the
100%.
structure actually allows you to accomplish more. And you just said something that really excites me. And you know what it is? You said we building the businesses. You didn't just say one business, you said plural businesses. Think about where you were when you started 75 Hard. Were we talking about running and operating multiple businesses? And look at it now, and it's just a simple thing. All you did was add a plural on the word businesses. But this speaks to what we know we are capable of, because all of a sudden we shattered all of our previous expectations. And once you do that, it's such a beautiful gift that keeps on giving for yourself, because now you look in all areas of your life and you say, all right, where have I been under indexing? And now we can look at it and say, well, why don't we just over index in all of those different things? Cool. What's the framework that I need to do? And it really teaches you intention, because when you're intentional about each of these different buckets, because that's one of the things the program does. It's a very holistic program. It is not a physical program. Sure, there are physical benefits to it, but it is a mental toughness program that teaches you a variety of different things. Because remember, we did anything from random acts of kindness to meeting a person a day to 5-minute cold showers for 30 straight days, all the way to the drinking the gallon of water and eating better. So it affects all different areas of your life.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, the framework is paramount to building the success on. I mean, the businesses thing, look, I guess just to build some belief for anybody that's going to listen to this, that's on the fence about doing something like this or doing this program specifically. You know, before I started this, my personal story is, you know, me and my business partner, I owned one business. We were going through a bunch of struggles financially. We had a partnership buyout a couple of years ago. There's a lot going on. Again, I mentioned I was sort of struggling with weight loss. I had gained I've gained about 50 pounds. I'd always been sort of slim and lean and stuff. Moved out to Portland, you know, got in a relationship, put on some weight, whatever, you know, you blame it on whatever you want. But I was trying to lose that weight, hit a plateau, never could get past that wall. And then also was just sort of stuck in this rut in my business. And then, you know, cut to a year later after the program, now in the last 6 months, I'm part of 2 businesses, a mastermind group. I'm chief strategy officer in a brand management company. My brand is starting to take off and thrive. We're launching 3 or 4 new products by the end of the year. And then I'm also launching a new business here and like this, literally at the end of this month, that I'm going to be managing from a high level that I already have an operations team for. So within the last 6 months, just based on the framework I was able to sort of put in place in the last year or so after or post Live Hard program, it's just, again, built the framework. It's made me understand that I have the capacity for more. It's made me build the structures, the standards, and all of those things to really help me maintain that pace and that consistency on a day-to-day basis. You know, you never lose that 1% better every day. Now, Live Hard program itself, you're getting like exponentially better in a lot of ways every day. But what you end up taking is like when the program slows down, the standard is still high. So what it ends up making you do is question, okay, if I'm not going to stick to this program every day, what am I going to do that's going to keep this bar high? And so again, just to build some belief, it's not to say that everybody's going to go start 4 businesses or go whatever, but I've literally quadrupled my income in the last 6 months based on this type of framework and consistency. So again, just some storytelling and some of my testimony on that, because it's really led to a lot of really cool things going on.
And you know how I would summarize that? This becomes lifestyle design. And I learned this during 75 Hard early on, that you're doing these various habits and routines. And then what you do is you get to keep the things that serve you, and the things that don't, boom, you throw them away and say, I'm glad that I learned from that experience. And now you start to design your life to say, all right, well, this works here, this works here, this works here. And then you do it in all the different areas of your life. And I can tell you, there's an overwhelming majority of the things from this that became the new normal, that sometimes you need to experience something and see the benefits for you to all of a sudden be like, oh, of course I should continue to do that. And we know a lot of these things. A lot of times you want something that's going to get reactivated. And it doesn't mean that you've always got to be 100 out of 100. Doesn't mean that I'm drinking a gallon of water a day. No, but guess what? I can tell you that I'm drinking a gallon of water a day a large majority of the time. There's just not this pressure on myself to have to finish a gallon of water a day, because the Live Hard program, one thing that separates this from anything I've ever done in my entire life is there is no compromise. And when I say no compromise, you eat one M&M, you don't take one progress picture. You screw one thing up, you go back to zero. And remember, this was a year-long mental toughness program. So all of this had to go over 75 days and then 3 subsequent 30-day phases. So that ultimate finality of everything, holy smokes, that teaches you a level of sharpness that you would not believe, because I would walk around with this low or oftentimes high levels of anxiety on myself, because, and certainly as you would get closer to the proverbial finish line of each phase and or the entire program, where you're so focused and you become aware of making sure you do everything. And by the time phase 3 got there, no joke, and we would laugh about this, I would be checking my list of that I accomplished everything like 3 or 4 times. Like I would have just checked it and I would go to bed and I'm like, I'm just going to quadruple check this just to make sure. But imagine how good of a trait that is and what we learned by doing that, because now it taught us ultimate accountability, because I saw the things of the people who screw up on day 71 of 75. And sometimes I would think to myself, and I was like, man, I would love to know who the person is that went the furthest and then messed up, because someone somewhere has, because they lost focus for even just the smallest amount of time. And we were able to keep our focus for an entire year. That's incredible.
Yeah. And not to put him on blast either, but my business partner, Sean's going through this, and he's restarted twice now and he's got, I think he got, well, actually he finished the first time, but he kind of started over again because he said he didn't do it with the right intent. I think he did, but either way. But yeah, it's tough, because since then, when he restarted, he was trying to do it with this like max out effort. And I feel like there are certain things that I've tried to talk to him about that aren't as sustainable. Like you talked about, you can't just go do squat day every day, like while you're doing the Live Hard program, at least 75 hard. Like you can't sustain that kind of effort. You can sustain effort and you can still max out and push yourself, but you also have to realize that it's a consistency challenge. It's a discipline challenge as well. And so when, the goal is not to burn out. The goal and like hit that wall every single day. The goal is to do the most you can with the time that you have and be disciplined about it and consistent about it along the way. So, it's an entirety of it that you're trying to get out of it, not just that one thing. Because I think what often happens, and you can relate to this as well, and you even alluded to it, I think the sort of mental fatigue that starts to take place when you're going through it, not because you don't have that max out feeling sometimes, like you don't think that you're doing enough, even though you're doing a ton. It's like, it can be a little, I don't know, like it can make you feel like you're not doing enough, or that you're not doing it right, or that you're not meeting some standard but it's you versus you at the end of the day. Like you're not really up against anybody. It's, can you complete this or can you not? Can you check off everything on the list or can you not? And yes, there is some max out effort to it, and there is some, are you doing enough? But those are the questions that you overcome as you go through it. Not like you had that one day where you had that mental lapse and you went, man, like, I don't know if I did enough push-ups that day. It's like, well, did you do push-ups for 45 minutes or did you work out 45 minutes or not? Because sometimes you're going to go through that. Like, you will still have bad days when you go through this. It's not 75 perfect days. It's 75 hard consistently. Like, you know what I mean? So some people get that confused, and I feel like everybody's focused on the feeling and not enough people are focused on the consistency versus the feeling. Does that make sense?
You nailed it, because it is such an important part that you have to learn on your own. Because you're right, you go into this and you're like, I'm going to max out everything. But then you're like, well, that's not necessarily sustainable. And the days in which you don't feel like doing what we get to do is really where you win in this, because the rest of the world, on days in which they don't want to do things, they don't do things. With this, you continue to build that momentum. And what you really learn, and this is probably one of the biggest things, and there's a lot of things, as Tim Grover would say, everything is listed as number one because they're all that important. And with this is controlling the chatter in your head, and more specifically, your bitch voice. And conditions aren't always going to be perfect. By design, with this being over the course of the year for the entire program right there, there's a lot of things that are extremely inconvenient. One, I live in Chicago. Guess what? The weather can be crappy a large majority of the time, including the winter time when it's -2 degrees outside and it's 5 a.m. in the morning and I'm doing my 45-minute outdoor workout and my water bottle's freezing and I'm wearing complete snow gear, and it's just not convenient at all. You've got holidays and big events. And the design of the inconvenience is what makes this so worth it. Because if you think about the people, ourselves included, why we don't want to do this or the timing isn't right. That's the number one thing you're going to hear. And if you're listening to this and you're considering this, you're probably going to look on your calendar and say, well, you know what, Rob and Brendan, I've got a wedding coming up for one of my relatives, or I've got a bachelor or bachelorette party coming up, or it's going to be 4th of July, or the Super Bowl, or someone's graduating, insert whatever it is. Life does not stop during the Live Hard program. And that's one of the things that it teaches you, because you still need to show up and pay your dues every single day. And for me, the reason why I did not want to do 75 hard, because as I was sitting on the beach in Sarasota, Florida, it was, I don't know, April or May. So it was about to be summertime Chicago. And I'm just thinking about all the street festivals and Lollapalooza and Cubs games. And I was like, why would I want to not do those things? I live in Chicago for the summer. Like, I get it. The built-in excuse was there for, I got fantasy football drafts, all my friends going to the bars. Like, that is the lifestyle that I had lived. And I had to overcome that. And this teaches you that conditions are never perfect. And little did you and I know, and I'm going to say this again, how this would put us in the best position to succeed when a pandemic hit the world. Like, this is the blessing of all blessings of my life, without a doubt, because it prepared me to stand up and pay my dues when everything, they say, prepare for what's difficult when it's easy. And we did this voluntarily. And all of a sudden, our tool belt was completely stacked when the world went upside down. And I was like, whoa, we had no idea that that would happen. But guess what? That's going to continue to happen in life. This isn't going to be the only period of time where difficult things happen, where people might lose their jobs or get laid off, or something unfortunate happens. That is life. But this will teach you how to deal with that mental chatter in your head that says, I don't want to work out today. What are you going to do? Are you going to be the person who says, you know what? You're good. Let's sit on the couch and watch Netflix. Or, as I learned, and I know you did as well, when the clock would say 5 a.m. and I didn't want to get up, boom, bitch voice number one. And then bitch voice number two says, I don't want to work out. You know what I do? I immediately go and put on my workout clothes, because that becomes a signal. No becomes yes, because you're trained to become aware of that voice in your head that tells you not to do things. And this teaches you to do things.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, if anybody looking to get into something like this, I mean, some of the other podcasts we recorded, we go over some of the tactical things about, setting up yourself for success, like setting out your clothes the morning before, like planning your calendar out the night before, like time blocking, doing all these things. Like, these are some of the tactical things that can get you prepared for something like this. Because if you're going into it and you've never done calendar blocking, or you aren't used to preparing stuff before you go out, or preparing stuff for the gym and things like that, it definitely forces you to get more disciplined in that area, along with the disciplines that you're already going to have to execute on anyway. So yeah, it can be challenging. Like, there's for everybody, I think the way that the challenge is set up it's structured in a way that there's no way that going into it, you're probably doing all these things consistently. So there's no way you're just like coasting into an easy street on anything. On most things, that's the case. And then there's definitely going to be one or two that like you're just are going to take you out of your comfort zone. You're going to have to get used to doing, especially when you get into the cold showers and you start getting into the more uncomfortable things. Even, and this is something I didn't mention earlier, but like between the phases, going into the phase 3, it was like you weren't, I don't think I wouldn't call it cocky. I wasn't like cocky going into it, but I was definitely confident. And then just a little shakeup of like having to do something nice and then having to meet somebody, like even though I feel like I'm a little bit more of an extrovert than an introvert, I still felt like it still took me out of my comfort zone. One, we were going through the beginning of the whole sort of pandemic and different things, I mean, like it was a lot to go through. Right. So, it's just a difficult process to wrap your head around sometimes. But it can be easy if you just take the time to sort of structure it out and realize where the gaps are, and then try to put some things in place to help mitigate you like dropping the ball and some of that stuff. So anyway, but you can speak to that too, I'm sure, because you were really good at like trying to like nip it in the bud up front and create processes and systems to create success as well.
Well, yeah, just like Eminem in 8 Mile, where he knows what Papa Doc is about to say to him. And he's like, yeah, I am a piece of crap. And my girlfriend cheated on me. And my boys suck. What's up? And like, that's how you need to think about the objections that are going to happen in your life. And here's the thing, your bitch voice is going to be there every single day. You go through 75 hard and you're done. You're going to feel like the Terminator. But guess what? On day 76, 77, 78, your bitch voice is going to be back. It's going to say, you know what, Rob, you just completed 75 hard. Why don't you just take it easy on yourself right now? You don't need to do these things. And even now, you and I, our standard of excellence has gotten raised so high, but that does not mean I don't wake up and not want to go back to bed, or I don't want to go to work out. Like, these things are still every single day, which is why it's so important to be able to become aware of them. So that's step one, become aware of the chatter in your head. And then step two is you now need to take action for it. And that's like one of the best things. Another number one is the standard of action this teaches you, because this is such an action oriented program where you're always living in action. You're always living in action. So it's like, well, how do you build momentum? Well, you build momentum by living in action, and then you build momentum in all areas of your life. And it's no surprise that good things start to happen when you're on this program. It just does, because like attracts like. And I think about, Brendan, when you and I were going through 75 hard and we completed it, one of the things that people said to both of us, we are radiating an energy. There is something about you. I don't know what it is, but like I was just drawn to you, or just there's something about you right now. And we would hear it all the time. And what that really was is, if we think about those small 1% gains, this is both in our mind, in our body, and in our heart, in the way that we're carrying ourselves. So we're probably walking around a little bit taller. We're walking around a little bit more decisive. We've got a smile on our face. We look better because we're drinking water and we're eating healthier. And all of a sudden, this sort of separates us from everybody else in a good way because of the things that we're doing. Others notice this, and by no means are we doing this for others, because you mentioned this. This is completely you versus you. It's an accountability, but it's a beautiful thing. And I would like to think, I know that energy has continued to just be part of who I am and who you are.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and it was really eerie because I think I brought it up, and then like you were also like, yeah, me too. Like we kind of stumbled upon getting that feedback, but we both gotten the same feedback in like the same week, and it was very eerie. Like it was like, what? Like that's crazy. Like the energy is real, and like it just. I think even when we both talked to each other about that and shared that info, it was almost like another boost of confidence. Like we almost sort of like leveled up another peg just then, realizing that like it's working. Like it's not just some one-off thing that somebody said in some random moment. It's like when you do this, like you have a split test, like two different people, A and B, and they're both getting the exact same feedback going through the same system. And so it really gives you a boost of confidence knowing that. And obviously it's just a good heads up, like, you want to, I think everybody, no matter who you are, no matter if you're introvert, extrovert, whatever, maybe not if you're an introvert, but I know, like, if you're trying to build a business, if you're trying to be successful, if you're trying to go after something, like, you want to be able to walk in a room and, like, people recognize you, right, as important. You want to be able to have that, not in like a cocky way, but just in like look, I'm here to make a difference. I'm here to, change something. I'm here to improve something. Like, you want to walk in with that confidence, and it's a great thing. It's a great sort of badge of honor or great aura to have about you when you walk into a room. So I felt like that was a huge stepping stone for me, just realizing that, like, it's working, right? I did want to go back on the bitch voice thing too, because
right.
the huge thing for me about that is I want to reiterate, like it doesn't go away. Like, to Rob's point, like, it's even this week, like this podcast, like recording this podcast, I almost made excuses about not being able to do it because I've been so busy, and I'm putting that in hard quotes for those of you listening, like, because I have a lot going on and my mental capacity, my bandwidth is being stretched in a lot of areas. But I'm also like, yeah, I could push that off, push this off, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, you know what? If there's anybody I should be talking to while I'm this busy, it's going to be Rob, because I know it's going to fill me up. I know I'm going to get good things out of it, even if we're just jamming on a podcast. And, like, I always get something new when I talk to Rob. And I was like, don't be an idiot. Like, get on the call. Don't make excuses. Nobody else is more important. This is your running buddy. Like, you know what I mean? And that's just being real. So again, even though we've gone through this and we're going through all this, these new productive phases in our life, like, it's still going to happen. I still had that question, like, should I do this or should I not? And the thing is I've already built the habit to not listen to it. I've already said, no, I'm not going to do that. I've already decided, like, and I'm going to do it. So anyway, I wanted to cover that point just for that clarity of, like, you're never done, like, sort of stiff arming that voice, so to speak.
100%. And here's another huge benefit that comes from doing 75 Hard in the Live Hard program: being around other people who are doing this, because this is a real community that if you go on Instagram and you look at hashtag 75 Hard, you are going to be blown away. And one of the reasons why I wanted to share this journey on video and podcast with others is because the results were so real that listening to this, Brendan, you and I are no different than anyone else when we started. We may have been at different age doing different things. Throw out all limiting excuses for why you believe you cannot do this. Because you and I, when we started this, we just said, you know what, we want to be better. And a great thing is when you find other people who also say, you know what, I want to be better. I want to raise my standard of excellence. I want to achieve great things. And then you find an accountability partner like you and I have who do it. And this bond and closeness that we've formed through the furnace of adversity, and we've earned our confidence and our dues, like, being with you through all of this instantly puts you as one of the most important and meaningful people in my entire life, because I know what you went through to get to where you are, because I did the same thing. And that is such a rare quality, because there are so few people in this world who are willing to do 75 Hard and or this Live Hard program and or live with the standard of excellence that you and I now have. So I want to thank you for that. But it is a huge thing, because being part of the Arte Syndicate and the various people that have gone through 75 Hard and the relationships that I've formed in that, it's such a beautiful thing, because oftentimes on a journey of excellence in business and entrepreneurship, it can be lonely and isolating. And this community is there to support you and build you up. This is about growth. It's about personal growth. And every single person who is going through it is on their own journey, but everyone who is around you is rooting for you in this. And it is such a beautiful thing.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It gives you, like, that addictive like winning mindset, and you don't lose that. Now, will you go through times where you question things, or you let that bitch voice seep in a little bit, or you let a habit slip here or there? Yes, like we are human. Like it will happen post this, system and challenge. But I will say, like, you build that framework out, you build that standard of excellence, and you're always holding yourself to that. Again, it's about raising the bar. It's not about being perfect, right? What you're trying to do throughout this process is you're trying to sort of jolt yourself with the system. And I struggle with this too, just to sort of a side note to this. I struggled with this piece when I got started of it being someone else's system. It's not my, like, don't tell me what to do. Like, I had that thought in the back of my head of almost why I didn't do it. Like, I don't like using someone else's system to tell me how I need to live my life. And there's so many excuses you can make for that. The point is, if you just let it take hold, you get out of your comfort zone a little bit, you're able to build a few habits. And again, at least a few of them will stretch you. You build that framework, and again, just raise the bar. It doesn't mean you have to raise the bar to perfection. It means that you're just raising the standard of excellence, so that when you come out of this, like me and Rob have, both of us are now on journeys where we're trying to get 1% better every day. We're not massively overkill doing certain things. It's swinging the pendulum this way or swinging that way. We're just trying to stay consistent and make sure that we're getting 1% better every day. Rob, I don't know if you want to share part of like the transitional journey of some of the stuff you're doing, or if you want me to share some of the stuff I'm doing, but I think that would be helpful for people to realize like what you can do post 75 hard as well to sort of continue that journey, if you want to share.
Yeah, for me, because you crave excellence. And I think that's the biggest thing, because we even talked about the PTSD we get when we were off the program, because you're running at such a high level, and then you accomplish this thing in the week after completing 75 hard is actually a very challenging week. And for me, I knew this was going to be the case. So my mindset every single time we finished a phase was, I'm working out twice a day that next day, because I knew it was easy to get comfortable, and I wanted to prove that I had more in me. And this standard, you keep saying it, and it's the best analogy of, it's raising the bar for us. It's raised our bar. The temperature that we operate in is at a higher level right now. And once you go through it, there's no reason why I would ever go back. Why would we want to not be the best versions of ourselves? And I look at my own business, and I'm currently shattering revenue records for my business that are coming in. And it's because of the effort that I put in both on day 1 of 75 hard and day 365 of phase 3. And it's this long-term mindset that you have of always getting better, of always getting better, of always getting better. And I promise you, I absolutely promise you that if you do this, this will be one of the best things that you ever do in your life. And through all of this, this has allowed me in my business. I was hired as a high performance coach to help a sales team be better in all areas of their life. Because if you're better in all areas of your life, guess what? You're going to be better at what you do in sales. And a lot of what I teach is a mindset and things that I've learned through the Live Hard program, because I want to be able to teach and share the things that I've experienced. This isn't just a bunch of philosophical mumbo jumbo that we read somewhere. Like, you and I have learned this through the fire of it, and I want to share it with others. And it's helped with my business, because guess what? We're operating, sure, we're running at a higher level in business, but guess what it's like to interact with you and I? Because we listen more, we're more patient, we're more calculating, we're showing up on time for everything, we're going above and beyond, we're doing things that normal people don't do in everyday life and everyday business. Rinse and repeat that every single day, 1%. And one of the phrases you're going to hear from me and see from me in social media and podcasts all the time: rinse and repeat. Why? Because this becomes a process of micro, that the way that you become better in anything that you want to do isn't about getting to the top of the mountain. It's actually about the micro of what you can do to focus on that exact moment and put in the effort and do what you can to succeed in that exact moment. And that's what this teaches you. that we can all get better every single moment, every single day, every week, every month, every year. And it just so happens this was the totality of an entire year. But for me, just so many good things are happening. And I sort of joked to myself, I was like, it took 7 years of me building Bacon Sports to get to this point. And maybe this journey required me to have 7 years of trials and tribulations before it said, Rob, you know what? You are now ready to go to the next level. And it just so happened the Live Hard program had to be part of that, because when businesses all around me in the sports world and the agency world are shutting down and people are losing their jobs, for me, it's just a time in which I said, I'm ready. Let's go.
Absolutely, man. It prepares you for a lot of stuff. Like I said, you realize the capacity that you can operate at as well. And, you know, to the points that you were mentioning, like yes, you build certain, I guess, disciplines and things in certain areas, but once you understand how you did that, all you have to do is reverse engineer that and apply it to other areas of your life. Like one big thing for me was like delegation, right? In all areas. And that's what gives you the capacity to grow more is systemizing, delegating, doing some of these things. That's what you learn as you grow businesses and as you expand. Like, and that's one of the areas that if you want to get disciplined about that, you have to do certain things every day for a period of time in order to get better at that. So I've applied what I've learned from this program to apply getting better at delegation. I've hired an assistant. I've handed off SOPs. I've handed off processes. I've done some of these things. And that's all just a result of doing it in all these other areas through the program, right? I've learned how to sort of back up, think about it. How am I going to do it? Plan it out, strategize, and execute on it. And so again, it's not just applied to your fitness. It's not just applied to drinking a bunch of water or, waking up earlier, any of that stuff. It's all areas of your life. You can apply these types of principles. And again, back to the same point, with that temperature being raised or that bar being higher, all you're doing is going, okay, I know I need to get better at this. How can I put it through this framework and basically chip away at it over time consistently? And I think it just helps you with the framework. So again, if you're struggling with, like, if you haven't been able to get over that plateau or get over that hump in your business or your weight loss or whatever it may be, or just the mental shift, I will say without a doubt, you need some sort of jolt. Now, whether 75 hard's the thing that does it or something else, or you hire a coach or whatever, you're going to need to do something to get out of your own way, basically. Because what has worked in the past or what hasn't worked in the past, like what your consistent actions or lack thereof are not going to get you where you want to go. So you have to do something to switch it up. And honestly, I think that coming out of this, the message that you can take away from this, from me and Rob both, from the start to finish, is like, just take action, right? Like, you just have to take action. And I mean, know why you're doing it, but along the way, you're going to learn things that you didn't even intend to learn, like me and Rob have alluded to. So it's worth it.
So as we wrap a bow on this, what I want to do is speak to the listener who is considering this or even isn't considering this, and just say a few things for them. I can say that this is one of the best things I have ever done in my entire life. It has completely changed my life. Everything it says it's going to do, it does. If you're willing to put in the work, you will unquestionably become better. And here's the thing, Andy says 75 days is a small price to pay to become the best version of yourself. You and I just so happened to take it a step further. And when we said, well, 75 days, how can I not do these other 3 phases? Because that's also going to tell me that you're going to become an even better version of yourself. And the growth from 75 hard through each of the phases, like, if you only do 75 hard, it's going to be a life-changing experience. If you do the entire Live Hard program, the entire year-long mental toughness challenge, it will be the absolute game changer of all game changers for your life. Because here's the thing, it is with you for the rest of your life. And that was always inside of me. I knew I am doing this for 50 years down the road, where these stacks on stacks on stacks, like, you're learning habits and skill sets that are going to make you so much money, that are going to get you so many good relationships, that are going to make you happy and fulfilled and live the best life possible. And for me, I want to live the best life possible and be the best version of myself. And you don't need to be an entrepreneur. You don't need to be successful. You don't need to be anything special. This is for any person. So if you're thinking about this, hit up Brendan or I and ask us questions about this. I can tell you that when you decide to do this, it will positively change your life. And I recommend it for every single person. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. And disclaimer too, like we don't get paid to say this stuff. I want to
not at
also
all.
reiterate
0%.
that like this is 100% from the heart based on experience. So yeah, I mean, just to allude to everything that I've mentioned so far, I think if you're someone that doesn't get into any sort of personal growth and you're looking for something to change, this is for you. If you're someone that claims that they're into self-improvement and you keep plateauing, you keep hitting walls and you don't really know where to go from here, this is for you. If you're someone that always loves self-improving and you're on that 1%, I feel like this is for you too, because this will jolt you and raise the bar. Either way, you're raising the bar to a certain standard. Like it's going to help you go from 75% of your capacity to 100%, 50% of your capacity to 100%, 25%, and everybody's journey is going to be different. So again, I would say take action. Take what we've said out of this. Try to hopefully it's built some belief in some, I guess, the program itself and the benefits of it. Go back and listen to some of the other podcasts we've made about this to get some tactical information, understand how to set your expectations, how to approach your day, maybe get some quick tips because you'll need it. I think that's important, but also, find a running mate as well, because I think one of the biggest things in this is, having you by my side, Rob, was a huge benefit. I don't know that I would have had certain mental capacities on certain days to go through it. And it's not that you were there sort of babysitting my mentality, but knowing that I was going to let you down as well also kept me more accountable during the process. And I think you would say the same thing. So I would say, again, 1, take action. 2, get your belief built by re-listening to this, figure out what it is that you need to change. Go sort of build a list of the things that you're trying to get better at and know that this can help you with that. And then find a running mate to try to do that with, because I think it's a huge benefit to the program. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. I think I've been selling it the whole time, but if we're going to wrap up with that, I think that's the best way to put it.
I love it. And Brendan, I want to thank you for being my running mate in this. You help inspire me to be better by continually doing greater things for your own business and your own life, because you show what's possible and that inspires me. I'm like, well, if he's doing it, I can do it. And that level of accountability is always there. And I'm just thankful for you and this journey and the way that this has helped grow our relationship.
Yeah, likewise, man. I thank you a ton. Even post Live Hard, you've helped me on days and foggy weeks when I'm just not sure which ways to go and stuff like that. I mean, it goes beyond just the challenges too, because in between the challenges, you were lifting me up. You always are sending me the positive text. Hey, what you doing? What's going on? Where you at? How you living? That kind of stuff. I mean, that stuff is immeasurable and it much appreciated. And I definitely hold you in high regard as far as one of my better friends, one of my better running mates in life. And I definitely appreciate you as well. So, we're going to both keep kicking ass. We're going to both keep learning from each other. And I look forward to that. So thank you too.
Amen to that. Brendan, where can everybody connect with you?
You can connect with me on Instagram at Brendan Pettit. So BrendanPettit. Yeah, find me there.
And you can hit me up on all social media platforms at Rob Cressy. I would love to hear from you about this episode. Do you have thoughts or questions for Brendan and I? Is there anything that we can do to help you on your journey? If you listen to this, take a screenshot and tag me in it in Instagram. I would love to be able to share that with others. The reason we did this is because we want to help you. We want to give you good vibes based on our experience. Amazing things are on the horizon for you, and we would love to be able to help you out on that journey.